Okay, hi everybody. I've pretty much finished my journaling by 5, and I took all the pages. I got a new book, and I took a bunch of pages out, and I put the pages in that I had done in my other book, switched them out, and then used this 21st page as a cover for the book, and it's looking pretty good. So that's done. So then I had 20 pages to switch back into the other book. And I decided, no, as long as they're loose, I'm going to do something with them. So this is actually the Journaling by Fives revisited. And I took a little bit more time on my backgrounds. I wanted to make sure that I got this in because this bizarre stuff that happened here. I put some gesso down, and then I laid some the netting that lemons and things, fruit comes in, on top of it. And then when I pulled it up, it pulled up the first layer of paper off of these. This is that wonderful mixed media stuff. Oops, I think I just made a little change here without meaning to. So these are the first pages there. And while I was working on doing that first one of washes and stuff, I was thinking, no, really, I think I want to get a little bit of texture down before I get too much paint on, because it gets too dark. So there's a little bit of lace texture there that you can hardly see, and I think when I paint on it, it'll be nice. So these were all, this is all stage 1, okay? Or step 1, which is doing the backgrounds of 20 pages. And they did 4 or 5 at a time. And in a short period of time, keeping my discipline of getting all of the pages. And then I got to one point where I really thought, oh, I want to go back and do that one where it's peeling up. But I knew if I did that, I might get a little bit waylaid and then start in on the second part without having all 20 finished. So I got these first, I think 13 or 11 done here. Now this was one I particularly wanted to get into work on. It started, even though this is the third one, it started as this paper towel that I used to lift paint out on some other things. So I decided, well, I'll just glue that one down. Well, initially when I went to glue it down, the page that it was facing came up pretty nicely. So I said, well, I'm going to count that as the page. So I said, that towel isn't this page. This is page number 9, right? It's not the towel. So I said, okay, I guess the towel is page number 10. Well, then I came to put the towel down on page number 10, and it is a 2-layer towel. So this bottom layer glued down, and the top layer peeled up. So then I took the top layer, and I finally glued down what I had started with. So the neat part of this is I got 3 pages out of 1 just by accident, and they're pretty nice looking pages. Okay. Then we were talking too about starting with some texture. So then this morning, I think yesterday, or maybe this morning, last night and this morning, I glued down just some, not glue, but I put some strips of paper with gesso to give myself a texture to start on. Let's see, so that's 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, I'm trying to hold my camera so it's not upside down, and unfortunately the way I hold it keeps turning it off. Okay, so then there's 2 more with a lot of gesso texture, which was the old technique that we had with John Jankar. I think I talked about him recently in a video. In our high school classes, we did a lot with texture and gesso. It was really fun. It opened up so many things for us. Then I tried watercolor crayons, and they're really quite nice. They're actually, if on the wet paper, they're mushy, similar to an oil pastel. And I've had these for a long, long time and not used them. I thought, well, this is a good chance. So I did these on wet paper, and I had the same problem I had on the watercolor paper, which was scrubbing on the wet paper brings up a top layer, okay, which is on it. So these two I was working on wet paper and scribbling into it. So I've got some crumbly paper, but the crumbs will come off and it'll be fine. So then I worked more on just a little tiny bit of water on the paper and more dry, like with a pastel or an oil pastel. And then I went back in with a quick wash here and there, and that worked. And this is a combination of both techniques, dry and then going in with wet. And this was just kind of wiping the brush off and touching it up a little. And I think we're at 20 right there, so I've got 2 spares. And this last one, of course, is pretty nice. And then there's this one, and I found that if you put some patches of water on it and put the crayon sideways and slid it through them, you got some nice effects like this yellow one here. See how you can see the side of the crayon hitting the water and then through, and that's the path of the water. So that's a pretty neat thing that these crayons do. So working through those, I found out how to use these. I've had them for years and not really found a particular use for them, because if I want to cover a large area, I just use my watercolors. But anyway, there we have session 1 of Journaling by Fives Revisited. And I don't know if they're going to stay loose or not, but I'm anxious to work on these green ones as well as get this one pasted back together. So I'm just excited to put this one up because this is, I just finished the Journaling by Fives Part 1, and that was done in 2015 or 2016, and this is 2018. But right now, right, in February of 2018, I'm not the only person working on this, so I'm real excited to be working on something that other people are working on at the same time. So thanks, everybody.